Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Chris, the podcast in which I answer your questions, discuss your topics, and share my life with you. Now, that intro was a lot better than the last few days. It still needs work, but it's getting better. That's going to sound a little weird to you, those of you who aren't following along, but I have been having a lot of trouble getting the intro down, so I was just really proud of myself for a moment there. Anyway, today I have once again no questions and no topics because there are no listeners yet. But if you are hearing this, then please, even if you don't feel like listening anymore, leave a comment, give me some kind of subject, and so that I have something to discuss. You don't even have to return. Honestly, it's just that someone bringing in content, well, not content, but ideas from the outside as to what I can discuss or questions I can answer, that'll allow me to get a better flow in this podcast. So leave your comments down below. And if you want to help, I'm going to say this a little weird, but if you want to help a brother out, make sure to click the like button and subscribe. Again, it's just a little nice to see the numbers go up here in the beginning. But enough about that. Today, I'm just going to share my life with you. Because, like I said, no questions, no topics. And also, I still need to practice the intro. I'm going to get a lot better at that, don't worry. So at some point, we're going to attract actual people here. So, today is the day where I'll be teaching my class. It's not really the entire class, and I won't be teaching them as much as I'll be helping them. But I will be at the blackboard. We don't have a blackboard, we have a whiteboard. I'll be at the whiteboard and the projector, and I'll be showing them how to do things and all of those things. Because we are going to be programming today. Well, like I tell people, it's not actually programming. We're writing HTML and CSS. And so, yeah, these people are really good at what they do, the creative stuff. But they are so bad at the HTML and CSS. And I'm really excited for us to get started with JavaScript, because that's going to be fun to watch. Personally, I finished my website yesterday. I did it in a day. Though it's not finished. I still have a few things that I want to do, some modifications, some additions. There are a lot of things that I want to go back and do. But I need to start writing my report as well. So, and also everyone else's deadline is not this Monday, but next Monday. My deadline is technically Friday next week. And the reason for that is that long ago I promised my parents, well, my entire family basically, because we're going with my mum, my stepdad, my sister, my other sister, her husband, their kids, so my niece and nephew. We're all going camping together. And, I promised that a while ago when I thought my exams would be over at that point. But turns out I was wrong. That does, however, mean that I'm a little limited on my time. And if necessary, I can work the weekend too. But I'd much prefer not to have to work the weekend. I'd prefer to be done by the end of this week, actually. Because then I can get my classmates to test things out, to read my report. Well, maybe not read it, but to look it through. And that, yeah, then I can finish early. I'd like to finish early because I don't do that very often. I'm always a last minute kind of person. And I bet you know what that's like, right? Just no matter how hard we try, we somehow always end up finishing at the last minute. Well, I'm not going to let that happen this time. I'm going to finish early. And that's because I'll be doing one blog post a day. I need to do some blog posts to get content. And I'll be finishing my website on probably Friday. And the reason that it'll take so long, even though, I almost finished yesterday, is that today and tomorrow I'll be spending most of my day helping my classmates. And then Thursday we'll be busy all day in school. And Friday, I'll probably sit down with another one of my classmates who's a little better than the rest of them, and we'll be doing some JavaScript. Because we'll be writing a functionality that enables, some scroll features, and it's going to be kind of cool. I'm thinking about implementing an alternative menu. So yeah, that's definitely what I'm going to do. I'm going to implement an app-like menu. So it's actually a floating action button that you'll be using to open up the menu. The menu items will then come up above the floating action button, and you can click them and it'll navigate to the place where you want to go. So that's the basic navigation that I'll be making. And that navigation is going to be available on both desktop and mobile. But it's going to be in the bottom right corner rather than the top right where people are used to it. And that's because it's designed for mobile. But even then, mobile navigation is usually at the top. Well, that's actually a lie. Mobile navigation is often at the bottom, but it is a different kind of bottom navigation when that does happen. Anyway, the subject I was going to talk about was the fact that I'll be teaching my classmates today. I'm really excited to do that, but I also worry because originally it was just supposed to be me and 3 other people. Now, at least 9 people are going to show, as far as I know. So my 3 group mates and then 6 other people will probably show up. I know that some people wanted to come but couldn't. And I know that some people will be coming tomorrow instead of today. And it's a little overwhelming that all of a sudden I have to teach so many people. I'll be all over the place, but I'll try to structure it so that I'm actually in front of the board rather than at their computers. And we are going to be going through some basic flexboxing and grid. And if those things don't really signify anything to you, that's okay. They don't have to. It's just layout. It's a way of making the layout look good. I'm gonna stress the fact that they go for mobile first, and I'm gonna spend the first maybe 10 minutes teaching them why it's so much easier to go for mobile first. Because people don't realize just how simple it actually is to do mobiles. Well, people do, but noobs don't. People who are new to this, they don't really realize. They seem to think that a desktop website is somehow easier, and that's just far from the truth. Now, I do have a few issues, and that is that people, well, one of the issues that I have is that people have very different designs. So I'm gonna try to make it easy for everyone. And I'm gonna be like, how many here have a navigation? And most people will probably say yes to that. And if they don't, I want them to explain why. Because I don't have navigation on mine, but I can explain why. A navigation bar would simply distract from the information that I'm displaying. I've done this 7 seconds thing based on a set pattern of reading. So they basically go through the information in a set pattern in less than 7 seconds. And in that time, I must catch their attention. And so it can't really be helped. I can't waste time on having a navigation bar where they're like, oh, okay, about me and contact and projects. No, they need to just see the content. And they will. So another thing I'm gonna try that again. Another thing I'm going to teach people is the difference between min and max widths and how to use them effectively. Because I use both, but I tend to tell people that they're only allowed to use min width. And the reason is otherwise they abuse maximum width. And we can't have that. If you start abusing maximum width, then it's going to be a weird design. So always mobile first, because mobile is actually the simplest version. And I think I'm going to use mine as an example because my website is super simple. And my website is structured according to the principles of structure, basically. Well, okay, that was something I just made up, the principles of structure. There probably are some, but it's not what it's made. So it's more so I made up my own principles based on structuring. There are still a few things, actually, that need to be tweaked and twisted. I need a main, and I need to title my sections and all of those things. But I'm going to use it as an example. I'm going to use it as an example as to how much easier, because if I had designed desktop first, I probably would have doubted whether or not I should have one section or three sections at the top of the page. Because there are 3 different items there, but they kind of go in the same section. So is that one section or 3 sections? Well, when you go down on mobile, it becomes very obvious that it's 3 individual sections. And I think that's, like, some people, they told me your design is a bit boxy. Well, yes it is. But there's actually a point to that. And it may not make a whole lot of sense to you, but it makes sense to me. So yeah. Sorry, I was actually just thinking maybe I should switch my colors. Because I have this clickable color, like links and stuff, that's orange, and then a button color that's purple. And I was thinking maybe I should switch them. But then again, I feel like the purple actually stands out more in its own way. The purple wouldn't look good within a text, for example. Oh, that's another thing. I need to write the text. There's actually still a lot to do now that I think about it on my website, but most of it's tweaking and fixing things, because right now I'm not actually satisfied with my CSS. I have some oddly specific selectors, but one of the reasons that I have those selectors, and they're not like deep specific, to those of you who know CSS, they're not bad selectors. They're actually really well written, well structured selectors. But some of them just feel a little weird to deal with, and I have some duplicated styling. I actually need to figure out, because this is where I'll admit I don't know everything. I wonder if you can do an OR query for medias. So you can actually check what's the size of the window that I'm in. Like the browser can check that. What size am I right now? And then you can get that back and you can style your website accordingly. Well, I almost wonder, because I had some styling that actually appears twice. It appears on a certain screenshot size, then it gets bigger, it disappears, then it gets bigger again, and it reappears. I was just thinking, I wonder if I can, do both, basically. Because you can do like minimum width is this and maximum width is that. That's how I revert it without overriding it. Because that's another thing that people do. Is that they override selectors. And, I remember back when I first learned this. CSS is a specificity kind of language. Like you specify, and then the one that's most specific has the most power. And people just abuse that. They use specificity to continuously override styling. I'd rather have specific selectors that don't override styling. For example, I use a lot of knots. So rather than saying all of these should have a bottom margin of 20 pixels, well, I use rem, but that's another matter. People understand pixel better. Instead of saying that and then saying, but the last child shouldn't, I say every child that is not the last child should have. And so it makes a difference. But some of them have become oddly specific. And I kind of want to look into that. And I also have like twice in my code where I override something. And I have almost perfect, non-overriding, non-duplicated CSS. I need to fix it up a bit. Anyway, I've talked enough about all of that. Most of you probably don't even understand it. But to those of you who do, don't be discouraged if you're new. And if you're a professional, never forget that there's always something to learn. Like me, I'm gonna Google right away whether or not you can use an OR media query. And so I might learn something new today. So should you. That's all for today, folks. I'll see you tomorrow. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I almost forgot that. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye now.